Hey guys, here's a full unedited version of me interviewing Harmony about the future of 1v1.lol as well as, the future of competitive, and we cover so many other topics based on the future of 1v1.lol. So if you guys want to hear about what Harmony has to say about this and some of my takes, I also go a little bit over of what happened with EGCS and why it won't be returning in here as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys at the end. Oh well.
All good. It's a conversation at the end of the day.
Yeah. Alrighty. So let's start from square one here. What do you think about the direction of the game based off of the new feedback feature that they had that they gave everybody, that little survey?
I don't know. I think with a lot of other things that has been done from the game, we'll just have to wait and see if they respond to the feedback and listen to the community. I think it's a good idea that they're now offering a system where we can voice our input and we know that they see it and hear it. Overall, I just have high hope. Hopefully that this turns out to be a good thing for the game and communication.
Right. Yeah, I'm kind of the same boat there. Just kind of have to see how time tells a little bit. I know I'm a little impatient at times, but I try to be good with it. I think honestly, I think it's a good step, definitely, that they're adding that because it shows that they're putting at least some type of effort into it. It just depends exactly how you said it, if they actually take the information and actually apply it. Because at the end of the day, they could just release any survey they want and then just not listen to it. And then just say that they're listening to the community when they're really not. Because nothing gets added that's a part of the surveys, But also, do you think that they'll add anything of the survey as in like possibly like removing things from the game? Or do you think maybe it's just going to be more based on things that they're going to add to the game?
From what I've seen in the past, a lot of the surveys are leaded questions in a way, where they ask questions based on things that they are planning to add to the game or want to add to the game to kind of get an input on the response that it will bring. And with that in mind, if there ever were a time where such a question like, should we bring back any old game modes, or like what kind of systems would you like to see in the game that were in the past, or is there anything that you don't like about the game now? Any critical feedback as an opening question would be nice to see. I just don't think that would happen. As I said, given what we know of them and how they communicate from the past, it would definitely be new to see them ask such questions.
Okay. Was that in your thought? I'm not sure if I cut you off or not. Yeah, honestly, I hope that they eventually bring something like how you said, based on the past. They haven't really done something like that. It's just more of stuff that they're going to be adding to the game. I would hope that they bring something like that. Mainly because if they want good player feedback, then what better than to listen to things that maybe shouldn't be in the game at all, like to fix the toxicity of like the how it is between like the player base and the developers, because I know some players are pretty toxic about it. I'm not gonna lie, myself as well a little bit at times.
Right.
Especially since I've worked with them and have seen firsthand of not greed specifically, but more of like how unprofessional they can be. So
Yeah.
coming from my side of things, like some people won't be able to understand it because they didn't go through the same situation I did. But for me and myself personally, like I don't really have as much hope as maybe some people like yourself or other people would have, who haven't really interacted as much, but have been in the community for a while. to just kind of see how they run the game a little bit. Especially since I came later too, I wasn't really there for like the, I guess you could say the renaissance of the game.
Yeah.
Because it's more of like, you know, I would hear always like great things from like the past where it was like, oh, they, you know, they're chatting up in the Discord, they're listening to feedback, they're, you know, adding some changes here and there. So, and the game was getting semi-decent updates at least instead of just 0. And then we just
Yeah,
kind
the
of went
game
into
back
the...
then was something else.
Yeah, it just seems like...
Everything was different.
Yeah, it just seems like now it's like a dried out well, compared to how it used to be. And yeah, I guess like the best analogy is a dried out well compared to a reservoir of what it used to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of leading that off now, talking more about other topics into the game. What do you think about competitive possibly, you know, not making a real comeback after this update? And what's your basic thoughts on the update, on the leaks that have been coming out?
Hmm. Thoughts on competitive. I think from what I've seen, I don't really see a future for competitive, at least as we know it. You know,
Mm,
maybe someone might end up having a like max level weapon only tournament or whatever. I don't know. There's just not a lot of potential. Competitive is usually a sanctioned, organized event where you know people compete uh, based on their skill level. Um, I just with what we know of this new potentially game ruining update, it doesn't seem like it will be a skill based
okay.
game. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think the pay to win factor is definitely the most damaging thing. That just kind of leads me into my next question. What do you think about them adding all this monetization to the game? Especially since you can get those upgrades with in-game currency, which is purchasable in the shop.
I've been semi vocal about it. Not as vocal as I would like to be, and that's only because I would prefer not to be the source of bad news or like drama.
Right.
I personally don't like it. I don't like it at all. In fact, I think the decision to switch their monetization system from the classic battle pass with an item shop where you can buy skins and have the ability to choose what you want, sorry,
It's all good.
giving that variety to the player, to the consumer, makes more sense and is more fair as a business practice than to make the community gamble for what they want,
Right.
which I do not and I will not give fault to the Just Play team as we knew it.
Mhm.
Because as we all know, 1v1.lol was acquired by Playtika, and that company, who has plenty of games, is known for monetizing their games very immaturely, I would say. They have lots of slots games, lots of games with microtransactions, some games you've heard of before, very popular mobile games that make lots of money off of these shady schemes of profit. And I don't agree with it at all, especially not for this kind of game. Like it's really a kids game. It was a browser game,
Right.
it was a mobile
Mhm.
game. Lots of kids are going to be playing this game, and lots of kids are exposed now to gambling to get their favorite skin. Lots of people from the community who had rare skins before don't even own them anymore because of this gambling, you know.
Mhm.
One of the things that upset me the most is the Battle Pass owners. The previous Battle Pass owners, they now, all their money that they spent on skins and items in the game, exclusive items that they were promised, are now gone. and they can't really do anything about it because the game just decided to change its way of monetizing. It's
Right.
completely unfair to the community, in my opinion.
Alrighty. Yeah, kind of the same tune on this side. I don't think it belongs in a kids game, especially how you're saying the gambling aspect. That's very especially nowadays, there's a lot of not even just Playtika, but a lot of companies that just add a lot of microtransactions, especially with this new $5 weekly subscription that they added to the game. I think that's just crazy. I think if it was like a something more like a Fortnite crew thing, I think I'd be fine with that, where it's just monthly. Because
Right.
monthly subscriptions make a little bit more sense for games like this instead of just weekly. I think that's a little wild, especially considering
Yeah.
that half those spins you're just gonna end up with a rare skin. You're gonna end up with a skin that you already have, and then it's gonna convert back into like maybe 10, 15 coins at the most. So then you don't really get any worth out of it, and then your money just kind of goes down the drain, all that gambling and everything. So yeah, the monetization, the fact that they monetized like the actual like, I guess you could even say the skill gap. They've monetized it a little bit, especially with how big of a difference there is in those leaks of the guns and everything. Don't quote me exactly here, but it was, I believe, 200 damage per headshot with an SMG. If you yeah, if you hit someone with SMG, if it's fully maxed out, compared to the base damage of just a regular SMG, I think is absolutely crazy, considering that all it takes is someone for or to get their mom's credit card and plug it in, and guess what? Now you're one of the best ones in the game because you could just do that much more damage. I know that's not gonna
Right. Right.
automatically boost their building and everything like that, but yeah, when a pro player gets hit one time for 200 damage and they only have 200 health because they haven't purchased a new armor, well then I just don't think that's very viable at all, especially in the
Yeah.
comp and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that leads me into my and that's question of 1v1 esports. What was your thoughts on how it was ran? Any suggestions you would give? Anything related to that? And possibly maybe even get why you didn't participate in it?
Okay. Yeah. From what I know of it, because I didn't watch much of it and I'm not really involved in it too much.
Mhm.
From what I've heard from the community and from what I've seen in the interactions, it feels like just like most other uh, official 1v1 tournaments, it was it could have been organized better organized. It could have been set up better. Um, I feel like really the biggest issue, especially within the competitive scene, as far as esports goes, is just communication. It seems to be the only thing that needs to be fixed, the only thing that needs work. Good communication and executing on that communication would make everything run better.
Okay. Um, so kind of leading into that last part, do you want to comment on why specifically you didn't want to play in it? Or is that
Right.
just a part of the reason?
There's of personal reasons that I had
Mhm.
for not playing. The biggest reason that's not personal is just for the fact that I am not too keen on supporting the game at this moment, especially with everything we had just talked about with the gambling and the poor monetization choices. I just don't feel like being a part of or representing the game in a way that I feel is genuine.
Right.
I mean, at the moment, I've been making videos for the game in the past month or so, not because I'm like too interested in the game, but just because I've been enjoying time playing with friends.
Right. Okay. Um, yeah, kind of same boat again. We got a lot of similar views on this. I did participate in it, but once I realized that it was literally just a giant cash grab, I completely dropped out. Considering I wasn't even supposed to be a captain, once again, going back to the, the bad organization of it, and how they didn't really check anybody. I feel like the application process was a little too easy for the captains, one. And two, they didn't really check who they were really making a captain, because no disrespect to anybody who, who's removed or anything like that, but just there just seems to be a lack of maturity from some of these people, and I don't think you really want those players to be captains in something so big as esports, especially something so big that the community is all going to look at. There was a lot riding on it, considering that Westrum was saying that Season 3 is all based on if Season 2 can run well, and if Season 2 doesn't run well, then it was just going to end, and it just seems like that they didn't have, like, the right organization to, bring the right people on board. I just think that they thought it was going to be all rainbows and daisies, and that it was going to
Right.
run super smooth, but in reality, it was just, there was not enough staff. The fact that I had to be called up twice, almost 3 times by Westrum, just to host tryouts, even though they have an esports manager, and I get that some people have their obligations and stuff, but if you're gonna be the main person, I don't think you should sign up for it if you're not gonna be able to show up to things. One, and two, even if you can't, you should at least make sure maybe another moderator, which I saw that they did have moderators. So there was plenty of other staff that they could have asked, but it just seemed like nobody was online. The people that they brought on, once again, like the application process wasn't that great. The people they brought on brought bad representation, at least from my perspective, because that's how I saw it as when I ended up quitting. It's just poorly organized. There's no point. The prize that they wanted to give out is already going to be sold again, even though that we were promised that it wouldn't be, that it would just be a a winner's prize more of than actually having to pay for it going back up. So like kind of how you were talking about the special skins and stuff like that, it would have been a special skin. It would have been a little bit more reassuring for them to do something like that. That way, we could see, okay, they're making an effort. It's not zero effort, but especially since Westrum had to run the esports by himself and come out of pocket with it. I think that was the worst part for me. And that was when I realized that the devs, they're not really very fond of comp. I don't know what comp did to them, but just seems like they're very anti-comp with everything that they do. So, not everything, of course, but most, especially with this new update that's being leaked and everything. Just doesn't.
Right.
It's not a good look on their end. That's just what it seems like with all the monetizing and everything. Especially adding back to that special skin, monetizing it and making it money, just so they can continue esports. It just seems like they were trying to find a new way to monetize to me, instead
Yeah.
of actually
For the
providing a
competitive
service.
community.
Yeah.
I
Um,
think, sorry to go back,
mm.
on as far as monetization goes, there was a 4th of July update. Do you remember it? They had the
Oh yeah, I had that skin. Yeah.
yeah, the special skin, which I believe was you had to like buy the skin and then you could like be on the leaderboard for most battle royale wins,
Yeah.
something like that. Um, and that skin when it first came out was $25, which is the most a single skin has ever
Awesome.
costed.
Wow.
It was $25 for the skin and whatever bundle. It was like a skin, some gems, some coins, and then there was a mega bundle which gave you all of that, and it was like nearly $50. It was so expensive, and I think that's what really started to change my perception of the game and how it's been monetized,
Right.
and kind of the direction that the game seems to be headed in, which is essentially just like cash grab. Which sucks to say because I genuinely have so much hope for the game and for the community. And a lot of the vision that they seem to have doesn't align with the communities, which ultimately will result in the loss of that community that supported the game so far.
Yeah, that's actually pretty true. Because if you kind of just look at the numbers, even, I think recently they were actually kind of on a climb. Even with the whole monetization, all the extra monetization being added, I think they were on a little bit of a climb there. And it seemed like the community was getting a little bit more active again. But once everybody heard about this update, they heard about the weekly subscriptions, like all that extra stuff. It just started to become more obvious. There was people who pointed it out forever ago of how like the future of the game seemed to be or was going to seem to be ran by, and it's just now more transparent for everybody else to see. And people, I've interviewed a lot of people, not like specifically an interview, but more like asked them in DMs and kind of asking them like what's their direction heading forward. And a lot of people are just talking about leaving. I've already seen multiple clans get a little inactive, so owners are considering disbanding them. I mean, me myself, I didn't see any future for my esports team or anything like that, so I just ended up giving it to Narc. So he could run it because he said he'd be willing to. So I just, gave him all that. And EGCS, I had to cut all that off because I knew comp wasn't going to have a future. It sucks because there was a lot that they really could have done to boost their game, and not only that, but it wouldn't have even taken them that much to do. They literally could have just
Right.
kept the game the same, let it keep going. Maybe new battle pass, give us like a minor update, couple bug fixes, maybe. Because at the end of the day, I think I'd prefer that they just take longer on their updates if they're just going to give us not so great updates on a shorter time frame.
Right. But I mean, with that in mind, um, I do take into consideration that there is an agenda. They are under a huge corporation, Playtika, and at the same time, they have a much wider audience than the competitive community to appeal to.
Right.
As a mobile game, as a competing mobile game, um, it makes a lot of sense that they put so much time and effort into making content that the majority, which isn't the vocal majority, can enjoy.
Right.
Um, I don't fault them for that, and even for the monetization choices, I don't fault them for that, because originally the idea of having skins was something that could have been seen as scandalous back then.
Right.
Um, it's not horrible, and accepting change, even with the the survey questions asking about abilities and new concepts to add to the game, it isn't a bad idea. Um, it's just the execution of it is what is worrying me the most. Um, so what if they add abilities, right? So what if they add a few weapons that could be more overpowered than others? Um, we've seen that in plenty of games before, where you can buy a weapon that happens to be better than other weapons.
Right.
Um, it's not a new concept, and it's not a concept that hasn't worked before, so long as the core game is preserved, which I feel is the major issue. I just don't see the core game being preserved and the direction that it's going in. It started off being just a building simulator that people who played Fortnite could, practice their 90s in, and it evolved to being this fake Fortnite game that's loved by the community and simultaneously clowned upon by the Fortnite community. It's a nice blend of a wide audience from multiple games that exist in this small sorry, I got stuck in a build.
That's fun.
um it's a nice blend of multiple communities that exist in this small space on the internet, with the main goal being to have fun playing a competitive building game, and having powers and overpowered guns just doesn't really fit that,
Right.
especially as a niche. It doesn't really fit it. Like with Build Now, have you seen any of the Build Now updates or gameplay
The
at
build
all?
now GG.
Hmm.
No, I haven't kept up with it in like probably like 5-6 months maybe.
Build now, what the the one dev that I know of, what the dev is doing with build now is going to be a revolutionary change, I think. Not
Okay.
just to the game, but to the building game space in general, excluding Fortnite, that is.
Yeah.
There's been many like Fortnite clones, there's been many building game ideas that have existed, but the way the direction that it seems to be going in seems to be mostly positive. New mechanics, new gameplay systems, things that work, innovative ideas that reward the community for being skillful, for putting time into the game. Um, and I just haven't seen that with 1v1 at all. I mean, the base mechanic system of the game hasn't changed since it came out. Not really.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
still the same. There's still all the lag, all the cozy boosting, all that stuff. Yep. I agree there.
yeah, I mean, to date, the latest mechanical change or like discovery has been boosting, and that's been in the game
Mhm.
for years.
Right. Yeah.
It just sucks.
Yeah, the direction of the game, I agree with you on that. It's just not a great direction. And yeah, compared it to other games, smaller developers even. I mean, and like you were saying too, like they're bought up by Playtika, so it could just be Playtika making these terrible, terrible decisions. I honestly think the same thing because if they really wanted this to happen, I think they would have done it a lot sooner. Um,
Right. Especially at the peak times, chapter 2 and chapter 3, whenever downtime would happen, everyone would rush to get on 1v1.lol because they were bored and they didn't have their favorite building game to play, which was Fortnite.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
That's how I ended up here. I ended up here from a literally an update downtime, and one of my buddies is like, "All right, well, you should play it because I'm streaming to get a lot of views." So I just went off with it, and here I am now. But yeah, it just kind of it sucks because it doesn't have that same magic as it had before, especially for new players. Like unless you're a small child, who doesn't really understand the whole business part of it or like the whole game part of it. You're just kind of there to play it because it's available and your friends are playing it. There should be more than just the reason of your friends playing it. It should be a game that is obviously not every single game is going to cater fully to the player. Like it's not going to be free handouts. I'm not saying that. Just more of these updates are just kind of anti everything that the community wants, and the community is the one that pretty much runs the game for the most part, considering that they're the people who make the money off of them. They're the people who get their player counts from. You would think that they would just take that a little bit more into consideration rather than just focusing on one specific group of people. Which I mean, I see they show quite a lot of love towards their Israel community. I mean, they rightfully do pull quite a lot of views. All the videos I see, they're like 50K plus. But I just don't think ignoring the rest of the community is a good thing. I think if they were just to, even if they just made small changes in our direction, it could potentially, blossom into something a lot bigger and a lot better and something a little bit more sustainable rather than just, oh, okay, well, here's comes the next update. What are they gonna add now? What's the game, the game killer this time? Um,
right.
you would rather have the conversation be, oh, what are they gonna add? What's the next, big thing that they're gonna add? Oh, I'm actually excited for this update. What video am I gonna prepare for this? Type thing, or people getting hyped over leaks instead of people just panicking and thinking, okay, this is the end of the game. Because yeah, all those comp players, a lot of top comp players are talking about quitting, switching to other games. It's just not a good look. Because eventually they're gonna
Yeah.
look down and they're gonna be like, wow, what happened? And then, yeah, it's gonna be right in front of their face, but they just don't see it. It just doesn't seem like they spend enough time in the community. Um,
That's actually something I wanted to mention or talk to you about.
mhm.
Um, the the way I feel the community perceives the decisions that the game has made so far, I feel is mostly immature. Because
Mhm.
while I do agree that, pay to win is bad,
Yeah.
the monetization changes have been mostly negative, and it doesn't really help anyone. the vocal community, the Discord community, the Twitch community, um, mostly US and EU, has been, you know, very competitive. It's a very competitive community, but the gameplay changes and fixes that they suggest is out of a place of, insecurity in a way. We all just want to play the same game and have the same fun that we've had for the past 2 years, which is cool,
Yeah.
I like to have fun and enjoy the game as well, but it isn't progressive. And it doesn't get anywhere to complain about the game just to, not see the same results that you're looking for. I guess what I'm trying to say is the community expects a lot, and rightfully so. The community has done a lot to support the game. At the same time, though, being entitled and taking the entitled approach towards addressing the situation doesn't help at all. I mean, the vocal community does nothing but like rage at the idea of, battle passes or monetization, things that don't support the game, not making changes towards supporting competitive. I remember there was a time, early days of 1v1.lol, there was a leaderboard and they took it out. And the one time they bring it back, it's to buy a skin and win games with that one skin. Like, of course, if I was a competitive player, I would be super upset that something that, directly affects us is now being put behind a paywall. Like a core feature that should be in a what would be a competitive game isn't there. However, the choices and decisions that they make is not towards the competitive community. Ultimately, it is a very casual game. It's a mobile game, it's a browser game, it's a game for kids who are in school and don't have access to their PCs or devices.
Right.
And so for the general audience of the game, which is excluding the competitive community and the competitive community and the online Discord community, all of the changes that they've made have made sense. Have you seen what's been going on with Twitch lately in 1v1?
Yeah, I think I've seen a lot more streamers. I think I've seen a lot more viewers. My personal opinion. Because today even, before I even went live today, early this morning, there was 40 viewers. It wasn't even Western that was streaming on it. And, it just seems like it's getting more active, is what it seems like. It seems like people are kind of stretching out a little bit more and going into the aspect, or the content, content, there we go, content aspect of it. And that kind of leads, what I was saying on stream earlier today, like, I think it's going to be a content gold mine. Like, content-wise, I think this game's going to actually, it has a chance to explode because of all the, all the wacky stuff that they're adding to it. It's kind of like when they were adding all that wacky stuff to Fortnite, like, competitive, everybody was complaining. Nobody liked it. There's big prize pools coming up, big tournaments. They make changes last minute. But all the content creators were eating it up because they were getting good views off of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's why a lot of people are just switching to content only. And that's the other half of the people who are saying they're going to quit. They're just saying they're quitting comp and just going to focus on just content specifically. I think that's a pretty smart move, honestly.
Right. I've seen a large amount of influencers, big names too, get involved in the community, sponsored streams, lots of sponsored streams recently. And it's all the same reaction mostly. They see the game. They were either once in the Fortnite community, they are in the Fortnite community, or they're just, a big creator who got reached out for this sponsor stream to play the game, advertise it. And I noticed a few things with these streams. All of them advertise the game as a mobile game. They all have a link to the mobile version of 1v1.lol, which is interesting because if it's being marketed and advertised as a mobile game, then the PC community, the PC game that we all knew, is not the focus. So of course, making gameplay changes and mechanic changes is going to be more focused and centered around making the game as casual as possible. So the casual player can enjoy the experience and not have to worry about sweat so much. Similar to how Fortnite is operating.
Right.
Um, and then the other thing is for the Fortnite players that are playing this game and advertising it as a mobile game, once again, they're playing it on PC, but they like enjoy the game a lot. It reminds them of a lot of the reason that they came to enjoy Fortnite. You know, it's a casual slash competitive building shooter game. Very, very odd niche of a video game, but
Mhm.
it's fast paced. It's not as, you know, intense as Fortnite. You know, you don't have to worry about sweats. You don't have to worry about high ping or low ping. It's just playing the game. And they seem to enjoy that quite a lot.
Right.
Um, Even one streamer I saw liked the idea of gambling for skins, which was interesting to me because, you know, me personally, I don't
Mhm.
agree with
Yeah,
it,
that's a
but, you know,
crazy take.
someone else might. And
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
That there is an audience for this game. It just isn't the audience that kind of built the game as it is now.
Right. So kind of, that piggybacking off of that a little bit. I just think that the core values of the game have changed, and that's what a lot of people don't like as well. Because every
Absolutely.
time I see people try to suggest things, it's just them trying to revert the game back to how it used to be. And I mean,
Right.
like sitting there being, it's like people when they say they want the chapter one map back in Fortnite. It was literally nostalgia. You were sitting there, you were out with all your friends. You didn't have as much responsibilities because a lot of those people were like between high school and like junior high, so now they're all adults and they got responsibilities. And even if you base it off of like how young our community is, even if they were like 12 at the time and they're not exactly adults or don't have all those responsibilities, they were just used to all their friends being online because the game had a lot of players back then. It was just a great time. It wasn't geared towards all this, monetization stuff. Seemed like that the developers were really like involved with the community, so it just, they miss how it used to be ran, and instead of wanting to progress, like you were saying, it's not progressive to continue to want the old game back. Instead, they just kind of hate, and that's why usually when I'm kind of like a little bit on the hate train a little bit sometimes. I already know I am. But the main difference between me and other people is that I always suggest new changes. I don't suggest regress because obviously you can sit there all day and just be like, take the flamethrower out of the next update or take this out, revert back to non-battle royale where it's like not the map. But that's completely regressive. You're going backwards. It's not development. You're asking the whatchamacallit, the developers who are supposed to be in charge of development of the game to completely devolve their game, and instead of offering better choices or better options and better feedback, instead people are just kind of raging and being like, "Oh, this game's going down the hole." And I know that they just started bringing out the feedback stuff again, which we'll see where that goes. But you can't always just sit there and just be a complete doubter because, I mean, if you have no good ideas, then why are you going to complain at all? Because, you don't have like a basis of where the game should be heading in like a general sense. And they don't have like a lot of knowledge that goes on behind the scenes because there's obviously people who understand, like yourself, saying like, it's bigger on mobile. They're going to obviously cater to the casuals more, and that, I think business wise, that's smart. Um, because that's what gives them their bang for buck. It seems to be winning for them considering they keep adding more and more. Because I don't think they would be adding more and more monetization if they didn't if it wasn't doing well. I think they're just kind of banking off the success of it, honestly. Especially in other countries like Israel where it's popping off. Because I mean it's obvious that they pay more attention there when they give them lands. I heard that land that they gave them was a creator cup, so it wasn't as big as something competitive, which once again catering more to the casuals. So they're consistent, and that's something I think people don't realize either is that they're being very consistent. It's just not in the right way that people want it to be. Um, that with competitive and stuff like that. That's my honest thoughts on that.
Right.
Um, But yeah, if you have any more questions, I think that wraps it up for my questions. If you have anything you
Yeah,
want to
I
ask
think
me,
that's it for me too.
that's it for you though?
Um,
Or you have more?
yeah, no, I think that's it for me.
Okay. Sounds good. Alright. I'm gonna get out of this box now. Oh, lol. Okay, well
Well,
yeah.
thank you for having me be a part of this discussion.
Yeah, no problem. Definitely gonna be doing more of these in the future. I think I'm gonna make this like a mini series where I interview, creators, top players. It's gonna be very well
Yeah,
edited compared to my other videos as well. I'm gonna add like
absolutely.
I'm not sure about captions, but we'll see. We'll see. But it's gonna be better editing. So yeah, I plan on doing
Mhm.
more of these in the future. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, thank you for
Cool.
joining me today and taking time out of your day, and hope we can do this again, or do more content in the future, of course.
Of course. And for anyone watching the video, if you guys have any ideas or comments, leave them in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe. That's always important.
And don't forget to stop by Harm's channel. It's also going to be in the description. And don't be bozos and not follow. So yeah. Anyways, that'll be the end of the video.